Okay. Welcome everybody to the Fall Education, Communication, and Outreach Working Group meeting. Thank you all for being willing to let us to move this a month. This timing worked out better because now we have outcomes from the recommendations and we have lots to talk about. I will go ahead and get started with the agenda, and you updated this. Thank you, Jared. Okay, so to give you kind of a report out on the outcomes of the 2025 recommendations to the commission. 2 of the 3 of our recommendations were accepted. The first one, Climate Education Month, the second one was accepted. And I also believe the third one was as well, correct? It was the first one that wasn't accepted, which was the ongoing stakeholder involvement.
That's correct. So 2 out of 3 of the ECO's recommendations were accepted. The 2 that you see here passed. The third that had to do with accountability and making sure that everybody was included in the stakeholder process. That was voted for inclusion within the text of the message from commission leadership, which is under OS approval right now. So that language will be reflected in the report, just not as a recommendation.
Yeah, which is good. As far as I'm concerned, that's a win all the way around, right? So even if they didn't accept it as an official recommendation, it did get addressed, which I think is great. And then the first 2, I think having the first 2, completely be accepted, I think is great. So any questions? One of the recommendations was annual report progress update on that first one. That became a recommendation. So hopefully the governor will instruct all of the agencies to update their climate improvement plans.
And just a note on the climate improvement plan piece. So the way that this was amended during the commission meeting was that this was not considered to be an action for the governor, as we had originally put it. This was instead seen as an action for the governor's subcabinet, which the chair of the commission, Secretary McElwain, who is also the chair of the governor's subcabinet, is going to take this issue back to them.
Okay, excellent. And we can talk about Climate Education Month. So one of the things we're really striving for is to get that bill through the legislature this year. If you don't remember, we had a really successful attempt in 2023 until the Key Bridge fell, and then everything just kind of stopped. But it had been approved in the House. It had moved to the Senate. We were getting ready to schedule Senate testimony, and everything kind of went off the rails at that point. So we'd like to talk about strategies for getting legislative support for this bill this year. We usually had asked Delegate Stein to do it. He had kind of somewhat committed earlier, but has now committed to another celebration day. He's not comfortable introducing 2 celebration days, so we have to find some sponsors for our bill. And Jared, you've made some progress there, so can you kind of fill everybody in on the level of interest, at least so far, we've gotten?
Sure. Yeah. So we have 2 delegates that have expressed interest in sponsoring the bill. We have a meeting with one on December 5th, where we're going to talk strategy, and I think this is going to be our main sponsor. Just because this is a recorded meeting, I'll refrain from sharing names at this time. And then we also have a second delegate who's interested. I've been working on the Senate side, and that's been a little harder. Some of the more obvious ones have said no. This morning, I reached out to the remainder of the representatives or the senators that are on their environment, education, and there's a third E committee. Committee to ask for their interest in sponsorship as well. So waiting to hear back from them. But if there are any senators, particularly senators that are outside of that committee that others here might think would be a good choice, I'm happy to reach out to them as well. And it doesn't have to just be me. Other people here can also, advocate for this bill as well.
Laura.
I'm happy to take a look at who you're contacting and see if anybody I know is on that short list. And
Sure.
also happy to help you to reach out.
Yeah, I'll be happy to send you a list.
I'm meeting in 2 weeks with a colleague from the LCV, League of Conservation Voters. It's a touch base, but I can see what her thoughts are when I meet with her. And I'm also hoping to hear like what they're supporting in terms of environment as well. Yep.
I might be able to tell you. This is Danielle from Maryland LCV.
Hi,
We're
Danielle.
doing our, we're doing our legislative. I don't want to call it a preview, but we'll be talking about what we'll be working on in the next legislative session. This coming, I want to say it's December 10th. I'm still working on an RSVP page, but I can definitely send that out so we can let you know what we'll be working on in 2026. But if you're probably meeting with Kristen or Rebecca, and they'll have a way better idea about which legislators to reach out to.
Hey, Jared, I've got contractors here and they need me. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Jared,
Jennifer, go ahead.
I would love to get that same list, but also the pitch that you're using to ask people to sponsor. And then, because like on the Senate side, I don't know if you've already connected with Senator Brooks, but he certainly comes
tried.
and that was
Senator Brooks was at capacity, unfortunately, as was Senator Augustine, I believe. But we've approached a few others as well and are waiting on responses.
okay.
We also tried Senator Feldman, who's on the commission, but again, at capacity.
Right. Okay. Well, I wonder if Senator Henson is at capacity. She's not on any relevant committees, but her district, which is my district, has very substantial flooding.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a great option. I think we had particularly approached ones that were on that Energy, Environment, and Education Committee because they would be the ones that would be looking over the bill. But if we can get one that is not on that committee, that's still a win just to have someone from the Senate sponsoring. As a refresher for those that weren't here in 2023, that was where the bill died. You know, we got through the House of Representatives and then it got to the Senate, and that was where it kind of stopped. And my understanding is that one of the reasons why Delegate Stein, in addition to his capacity being already completely full, was that finding a Senate partner has been a challenge.
Right. So what was there a fiscal note attached to this? And if so, what was the fiscal note?
I don't believe there was a fiscal note. I mean, it's a very straightforward bill. I mean, this is just a commemorative holiday we're making that's basically a month long.
Right.
Yeah,
Notice that.
we were talking about the fiscal thing. I think we had to address that question last year, didn't we? Or 2 years ago? They asked if there was a cost and we said no.
Yeah, there was no cost associated.
No, doesn't mean that it's no. Okay, well, Jared, I'm happy to follow up.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay, sorry. What did I miss? I'm having doors replaced.
We were just talking about some of the senators that might be worth approaching, and it looks like we've already tried most of those on the list so far.
Okay. I don't know if we're going to be successful if we don't have a sponsor for the Senate. So.
Did you try Hedelman? Is she still there?
Did I try whom?
Hedelman, Senator Hedelman.
I don't believe I tried Hedelman. Yeah, it was real. I only reached out to those that were on that committee. So if they weren't on the committee, they haven't gotten an email from me.
Okay.
There is a chance that one of the people on the committee might not continue. Is there anybody who's angling to get on that committee that people know of?
No.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. No. I mean, that doesn't mean there isn't, but not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay. Eric, you want to bring the agenda back up? So I keep us on target. Okay. Okay. So we've been through items 1 and 2. We are starting to work on the Maryland Climate Teaching. We've had a couple meetings so far. We have our sponsor in place. She is from Poly. She's from Poly, Baltimore Polytechnic, and she is a science teacher. She kind of shadowed with us last year a little bit. I'm trying to remember her last name. Her first name's Victoria
Matthew.
Matthew. That's it.
Yeah, and she's the spokesperson,
Yeah.
not the sponsor.
She'll be our spokesperson. And then that's probably, I think that's just about as far as we've gotten. We have the registration form updated. We're updating the website, but we haven't really kind of gotten into the meat and potatoes of planning this. We usually that starts about now, and it starts to pick up speed. So I think, we have a meeting tomorrow. I think we'll probably be knocking some of that out tomorrow, but we're really excited about the teach-in this year. We think we have a good plan. We're hoping to expand on our sponsorship. Obviously, we want to expand our reach within the state to additional educators, and especially in undergraduate and graduate schools, community and faith-based organizations, and private schools. Those are going to be goals for this year because we have a lot of room to grow there. So that's where that one stands, which leads pretty well into the next section, which is our 2026 work plan. And that's what I assumed most of this conversation would be about. Like last year, if you remember last year, we had to submit 3 areas of focus for our work plan for the year. And the commission is asking us to do that again this year. Basically, we had there was some slide templates we filled out, but we need to decide the areas that we want to focus on this year, whether that be through like efforts. We're one of the few committees that actually, we don't just make recommendations, we actually do things. So it could be through action, or it could be through learning about topics in order to develop our recommendations. So I want to put that out on the floor for anybody to have any kind of recommendation. Our work plan will include the teach-in no matter what. So that's going to swipe one of them, but we can open ourselves up to any kind of thoughts on how we want to approach the coming year. Jared, do you have last year's too?
Not pulled up, but give me a moment and I can get that
Okay.
first.
I'll see if I can find them too. I'm happy to sit quietly. Oh, you're so good. Until somebody talks, makes a suggestion about what they feel passionate about in terms of goals. So last year, one of our priorities was to increase support in the teach-in. We did a really great job on that one. We did talk, we were going to talk about grants. We didn't do that. And there's the grant one. Going to work with an NGA to create or administer a grant program. And the third one was working on the website, which we did do a lot of due diligence on this and realized it's definitely not something that we can accomplish with the resources that we have. And it's a very, very significant struggle to maintain. Tristan.
I knew you were going to call me right away, and I don't have my.
Your thoughts completely organized.
Well, I wanted to look for something really specific. Okay, here we go. I found it. I was recently looking for graduation numbers for different green careers in Maryland, just to get an idea of like what's going on out there. Laura's heard me share this multiple times, I'm sure, at this point in time. Do we have enough students graduating from Maryland higher ed to fill the green jobs that we know we have or like are predicting that we have? And I got some numbers from the Maryland Higher Ed Commission, and it was literally like every single Maryland higher ed institution and every single degree that they offer, graduation numbers from 2015 to 2024. It's like 6,000 lines of text. And I compiled it and formed it into like a little table with data, and I'm happy to share it. But my point is, while I was on that search, I got put onto a report that the American Geosciences Institute puts out. It's called the Status of Geoscience Workforce. And I think it would be like super interesting to get an idea of like what is happening in Maryland around climate and how it's connecting to our communities and education. So I'm just going to throw that out there as like something totally different.
Okay, that's an interesting topic. And are you suggesting that we just look into it? Are you suggesting we kind of craft a report about that? Or
I don't know what's feasible. I would love to see a report. I don't know if that's like just an us thing though.
okay, I love that. I'm writing that down.
I have a comment on
Uh-huh.
what Tristan is saying, and then I have something else, but it can
Yeah.
wait. Tristan and group. I mean, I think Green Careers is interesting, and I also think that maybe tying together some different pieces, Tristan, from like that is, I'm assuming, a national report, but it has a Maryland focus. But maybe also some information from the CTE team at MSDE to be able to put forward some information on Green Careers, or maybe even to support in terms of communications of some of either the things that are going on, or with that data, Tristan, some of the gaps that there are. I think that would make, if we did some work on that and we could move it towards like a recommendation, that would be an interesting thing and something slightly different, but also perhaps interesting to some of the greater MCC members.
Tristan?
Okay. Thank you, Laura, for expanding on that. I appreciate it. I just wanted to take a look at my data really quickly. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I'm taking over. Okay, so I made pivot tables from all of the data. This is what I'm calling like the roll-up. So once I identified a bunch of green career-related degrees, and again, like that's such a hard thing to nail down. There's not like a defined list anywhere. I asked ChatGPT to help me, and then I found that there were several that had like different categories. So if we look here, line number 3 shows climate over the years. Like it's pretty steadily around the same amount. But if we're like really curious to know which universities or degrees are relating to climate, we can show the details, and we'll see that the most common degrees happening, like these first several, only have, there's two students over here.
Right.
We're looking at atmospheric and ocean science, and then a few in climate and health have jumped in. And then we can even go even further to explore. Let's look at climate change up here. We can go to more detail, I think. No, maybe not. There's a way we can find out which universities those two students came from, or if we're seeing a gap, like, oh, whatever happened to this climate policy and action degree? Is it still happening? Has it rolled into something else? I'd love to see connections to some of our universities and higher ed institutions and like offer them some support, or how they can be involved in maybe the teaching if we want to get like super specific with it.
Okay, Laura?
So so the OLP, the Outdoor Learning Partnership,
Mhm.
put forward some recommendations and actions, are putting forward some recommendations and actions to the governor. And one of the items on there is green careers. It does seem to me, and I'm kind of looking at Tristan as well, but that we should maybe look at that in terms of how we could perhaps collaborate together on that recommendation, and I'll have to find the wording for it. It has not been presented to the governor yet, so I'm not going to mention it here, but I can email it. Anyway, Tristan, it just seems to me like it might make sense to kind of look at that too and see.
I would love that. I know one of the chapters or like sections we need to include, I would love to say update, but it's not even in there. I would love to have a chapter on climate related careers.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can come to this group to like get an idea of how to populate that. We've got like, you know, what degrees and things to study, what kind of networking opportunities are out there. I want to make sure that the jobs that are representative aren't just your traditional seeming green careers. You know, we've got folks from the private sector as well. Like, how does that get represented in the careers guide? So yeah, I'll take the help if I can get it from the group.
But I'm just thinking that could be an easy lift, Amy and
Mhm.
Jared and group. That if there's something, you know, that piece that the OLP is working on, if there were some collaboration, that would be an easy lift, right?
Yeah. Well, and just combining our resources could take it further,
Right.
supporting both organizations. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's a better way of putting it. I did have one other thing that I wanted to bring up. I put in the chat a link to compasseducation.org, Systems Thinking for Youth Climate Education and Civic Action in the Chesapeake Bay.
Mhm.
The Chesapeake Bay affiliates of the North American Association for Environmental Education have come together with Compass Education. We have a little bit of funding from CBT to do some Chesapeake Bay region-wide professional learning for educators. The course is starting December 6th and is, I think, every 3 weeks, 3 times, 1 in December and then 2 in January. The idea is that teachers would do a project in their classroom using the tools that they're gaining from this. But what I was thinking was, so that's some promotion, which I'd love to have you all help to promote. But I'm also wondering if, you know, with things like this that are going on and in the coming year, the Maryland Climate MCCA, is that right, Tristan? The climate education group, Mid-Atlantic, MACC,
Yeah.
yeah, that it would be, I think, also nice to be able to kind of hear from them what their priorities are for this year, what their direction is with their conference, and to be able to help to promote that. That maybe as part of what ECO could do is to be promoting some of these climate education opportunities. And maybe we do that already. But also I think that would be a nice way to collaborate with other entities.
I like it. By the way, Jabari, we're talking about the work plan, and just opening up the floor to suggestions. We've had 2 so far. One to really kind of dig into green jobs, and I've got a lot of notes on it, but possibly tying together some different information, possibly creating a report on green jobs in terms of graduation rates. Are we graduating enough students to fill the green jobs that we have? And OLP is also working on that already, something in that realm. So that's an opportunity for collaborating together. And then Laura just spoke about possibly working with the other nonprofits in the region to promote educational opportunities.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Yeah. Those are all great things. Workforce development is a huge thing, especially in Maryland, when it comes to this sector. So I like the idea. Of course, resources is always a thing that we have to, keep in mind as far as how to get this done. But yeah, I definitely like the premise of that.
Yeah, and I'm looking, we had the Just Transition working group. We could review their report as well, because they're, they did some preliminary research in somewhat with a different lens, but still probably pretty useful.
Okay. Yeah. No need to reinvent the wheel. If it's there, the information is there. That's, I totally agree with that.
What other parties? And you don't have to have a fully formed thought here. It could just be, because it sounds like we've really focused in on education, but our job is communicating and outreach as well. Any kind of focus area there, whether it's I don't even know. We've gone down the general communications path in the past. We know realistically that there's no funding now for any kind of advertising, any kind of organized advertising. That doesn't mean there couldn't be a program there. It would just have to be coordinated and funded through the various agencies through their own already advertising budgets. Of course, that's where my head goes because I'm a communications person. But I'd love to hear other ideas as well for engaging Marylanders. It doesn't just have to be students, Marylanders of all ages, walks of life in climate change, or legislators. We have lots of audiences. We could focus on trying to engage legislators in discussions about climate change as well. These could, we were having a discussion at the steering committee earlier this week about possibly just doing kind of like a state of the climate series. In the past, ECO has helped the commission host a webinar that kind of covers our report recommendations. And the problem that's happened is that the report deadline got pushed back a month. It pushes it too close to the end of the year. There's not enough time between the report publishing and session to actually get it done. So it's become virtually impossible to do. So instead of tying it to the report, maybe it's just tied to the state of climate. Oh, Jennifer just put in text. MDE got a $1 million investment to do education on why folks should get EVs. There should be a whole PR program around that. Can we help her push that out? And I don't know how that works, Jared. You might be able to give us some ideas on how MDE deals with things like that. But
I don't know exactly how that works in terms of collaborating with MDE directly, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't work with OS to promote this effort.
Jennifer.
Well, there are really two really big, good things coming out of MDE. One is going to be around December 1st. There's going to be this report on what the sub-cabinet is doing, on climate throughout the agencies and what their plans are going forward. And obviously one of the challenges will be that they put together a real plan and a real budget for what it would take to accomplish the Climate Solutions Now goals, but that budget was $1 billion that was never allocated. So to the extent that we can share out the good that is being done and the opportunities for other people to either invest or engage, I think we could be helpful. I think there will be a press event around December 1st if it's not, on that day. So that could be helpful. And this EV campaign, I haven't heard much about it. She did talk publicly about it on a podcast she did with Jamie DeMarco, so we could find out maybe how we could be helpful.
So that brings up a really good point, though, that we had talked about previously, which was creating those partnerships with the private sector and nonprofits to move some of that forward. So that's also an opportunity separate from just specifically the EV. That's a topic that we could try to delve into as well. You could just talk, Jennifer. What you got?
It was an accident. I don't know why my hand was up. Sorry.
Okay. Hey, I'm also wondering whether, I'll throw out my own idea here, in the line of that, as a stepping stone. How about this? As a stepping stone for what we just talked about and those partnerships, I wonder if it would be worthy, and again, you don't have to choose this or select it, but it's an option, to start to create relationships with nonprofit, like true relationships with nonprofits, to try and bring them together to advance the goal of, one, the Climate Solutions Now Act, all of our missions, to try and create a bridge. And I'm not sure, maybe a bridge exists, and Laura may be able to speak to that more than me, whether, the nonprofits, basically a network of the nonprofits working together exists or is needed. Yeah, Jared.
Yeah, so something that we have later on the docket for today's agenda is talking about expanding the membership for this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a relatively limited number of ECO members, and I think that there's a much broader scope of climate education activities happening throughout the state than the really wonderful group that we have reflected here. So in terms of connecting some of those nonprofits and making them partners, an easy way to do that is for us to discuss expanding the membership to include some of those members or potential members that we aren't using right now. I think that even just the teaching planning team has a number of people that could be suited for that role. So just something to think about in terms of connecting with nonprofits. They could just sit on this group.
Mm-hmm.
What I find interesting, and don't have a solution for, but I'm looking for bridges, I guess, is in the sector in which I work, which is environmental education community. We are looking out and beyond the formal and non-formal educator to others who either are interested in environmental education, climate education, that kind of thing. But there is a real kind of disconnect, I would say. I think divide is too strong between like conservation organizations and environmental educations. And that bridge, I think, would be a really good one to take a look at and see if there would be ways to maybe connect more with those environmental organizations. And some of them may actually be in both communities, but don't talk about one, or, they
They
talk
don't,
about this.
right. They keep it
This,
silent.
they don't talk about this. So,
Right.
yeah.
Charlie?
I just put my hand up because I didn't know if there was an order or anything. But to this subject, I think it's a great idea. So what I've done recently, even this week, it's been a tough week for me. I held a what we call the Green External Partners meeting, and because I really wanted to bring as many as possible. It wasn't all, of course, but some of our external partners that work with Bowie State together for, first of all, for us to all create some synergy, to connect, to network, collaborate, see how we can help them, see how they can help us, and see how, quite frankly, how they can help each other. So something like that. I mean, I know we may not be able to actually necessarily coordinate and plan a meeting or summit or whatever, but something like that, bringing people together, preferably in person. Virtual is always, I know that's obviously more convenient for some people to do virtually, or maybe it could be a hybrid option. But that's something we could look at, is trying to find a way to create a network of some of these partners, nonprofits, and not even just nonprofits, but other agencies who are going to help out with meeting the state's goals. So it's something to consider. I haven't really thought about how to do it or what form, but I think bringing everybody together is always the key.
I love that idea. And honestly, I don't see why we couldn't plan a meeting. I mean, between having, access to meeting space, which we do, whether it's through the state, we have access to meeting space.
Sure.
And if we could just, get a level of interest, I think we could probably do a meeting.
Okay.
I mean, it wouldn't have to be like a conference.
Right, right. Right.
It could be just a couple hour meeting.
And that's what ours was, only like an hour and a half. Yeah.
Sure, right. Especially if we could get some pretty solid participation. Laura?
Along those lines, one of the pieces of work that one of my colleagues here at Mayo is doing are network hubs, and they're across the state. She just went to one last night that's just getting started in St. Mary's County. But these are, there's some of them are county and some of them are like covering several counties. There's one in Harford County, the one in St. Mary's County last night, the Eastern Shore. She's doing some work out in Western Maryland. And it's bringing together different people with a common interest in environment. And so it might be worth having Jemima do a presentation to the group to kind of hear about her work and what she's finding when she brings, because these are not just education people. They are people who in their counties are coming from agencies and nonprofits and education. And that might be interesting as we would develop like what a meeting could look like, and what the outcomes would be for that, desired outcomes for that meeting. And I'd be interested, Jabari, in hearing about what your work on Monday did, and who it brought together. Did it focus on youth, or was it community, that kind of thing? And then also a meeting that I couldn't go to today at Bowie was the Brave Boy Green, I can't remember the whole title of it, but anyway, and I have a feeling you were there.
Yes.
And I would love to hear that. And I'm really sorry I couldn't attend. I had too many meetings today. So.
No, I understand. It's a lot going on. And like you were saying before, and Amy, you mentioned this as well, a lot of the work we're doing is still somewhat separate. In other words, we're doing the same or similar work, and it's no one's fault necessarily. It's just that people don't know about everything that's going on. And that summit brought an incredible. By the way, I saw Donald Bell just join. He was actually one of the panelists. One of the panelists that just got over about maybe an hour ago, I think. So the meeting at Bowie, though, however, really focused on all of our partners, and that's from clean energy to the energy sector to environmental preservation. It was kind of like pulling all of them in, anything that relates to the environment, sustainability in any form or fashion. Some of them were nonprofits, some were even government agencies, local government agencies and whatnot. We had about maybe 20 people, and I get you, names and agencies, Laura, later if you are interested. But really get a chance to kind of hear each other's work, what they're doing. And when hearing that, it sparked interest in other people. Say, oh, well, we should work with you all about something that we're working on, or we can help you all with that. because one thing we could say about people in this space is we're really trying to do the same work. We really want to help each other out to get those accomplishments done. So it was a very positive meeting. It's the second one. We had one in May, and it was so good then that people wanted to do it frequently. I can't do it frequently. So I said, well, we'll try to do it semi-annually. So, and today's summit was the first one of its kind. It was very successful. I'll let Donald wants to chime in on that. I'll let him kind of speak about that, but that was great as well. And these are kind of things we need to do to bring people together and make those connections. I hope that helped.
Yeah,
I can give you some more information later too. Yeah. Go ahead.
I agree, Jabari. From what I could see, I could only make the afternoon portion, but a number of different organizations, from government to nonprofit, exhibiting, speaking, and working alongside each other. We did have some student representation there. We had the 4 students on our climate change ad hoc committee, the student members of it speak, and I heard for the morning session, like they were amazing in their talk in the morning. In my session in the afternoon, it was about establishing and transforming and promoting a workforce throughout Prince George's County and other areas, and how do we establish that? So my part was, what are we doing in the K-12 sector to prepare students for a transformational workforce? We talked about, some of the areas associated with our climate change action plan and partnerships. So it was well attended, and from everything I could see, really well organized and well run. So thank you, Jabari. I don't know all the roles you had. I just know you had to have had many different roles within the development of it. So thank you.
Appreciate it, Donald. And to Donald's point, I want to bring this up too. When students are involved at really any level, whether it's K through 12 or even up to college, that really pumps up people to do the work, even more. And what I'm saying is, we had some students who had their posters for the research they've done in the science areas out there. It was a last minute thing, by the way. So all this put together last minute. I didn't bring this to Bowie State, but once it was brought here, I did kind of help out in many ways. But I think having students involved somehow, I know it's one of the things we talked about before in one of our recent meetings, trying to have more student input somehow.
Mhm.
I think that will help as well. And I mean, we have 12 USM institutions. That doesn't include the private schools. So we have a lot of college students, and of course, K through 12, of course, I think, who are willing to showcase their work in a case like this. And nonprofits, I believe, will definitely be, and other agencies will definitely more than willing to help us out in this work once they see the young people are actually involved and interested in doing it.
I like it. All right, so we have right now 4 different ideas, sort of. Are there any others? There's some people on the call we haven't heard from. Just want to leave some, few minutes open to entertain any other thoughts.
And remember, y'all, we have 3 big topics. It could be anything dealing with education or communications or outreach.
Mhm.
So we got the trifecta in this group.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's talk about the 4 that we have. So we have the climate teach-in. So that's actually 5. So the climate teach-in, we've got a suggestion to focus on green jobs, and are we preparing students for those green jobs within the state? We have a suggestion on promoting educational opportunities for professional development related to climate change. We have a suggestion on sharing out ideas on how to move the Climate Solutions Now Act forward, possibly creating private partnerships with private industry and nonprofit specifically focused on that. And then the last one was, focusing on creating a network of and bringing these parties together, right? Which kind of goes with the previous one, a network, an opportunity to create connections between different organizations. We mostly talked about nonprofits but it doesn't have to be nonprofits, so that they can find opportunities to work together. They can understand what the goals of the organizations and things like that. So, all wonderful ideas. Can't do all 5. We don't have the bandwidth, honestly, to do all 5. Any thoughts on, choosing a couple of these to focus on this year?
So to your point, Amy, I think the last 2 that you mentioned probably could be combined into one.
I think so too.
Yeah. And then the one about the climate teaching, so I might have missed that part. What were we saying about that
Well,
one?
the climate teaching is always one of our working plan options.
Okay.
You know,
Because
mean-
I remember at one point we were said that we shouldn't repeat, or it has to be a little bit different, right?
Well, I'm not saying this is a recommendation. I'm saying
Okay.
this is our working plan.
Just our work plan.
So
Okay.
not
Yeah.
everything that we do ends up as a recommendation. Some of
Mhm.
these could end up with recommendations.
Okay.
And if we want to focus our thoughts on recommendations, then we should take the climate teaching off the list because we've
Okay.
already done that.
But we definitely use the working plan as our template.
Mhm.
I think. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. I like what I heard. So what do the rest of you all think? Sounds good so far? I guess
Yeah.
the silence is the answer.
Silence scares me. I want more than silence. Okay. So if we take the climate teaching out, we have 3 solid areas to focus on next year, which is green careers and whether or not the state is preparing students for those. And we have an opportunity to work with OLP on that. So hopefully Laura can help kind of start to bridge that connection. We can find out where they are and what kind of support, like what kind of piece we could knock off for ourselves so that we're both coming together towards the same goal, which I think would be great. Identifying and promoting educational professional development opportunities for educators. We'll have to, we can absolutely do that. We need to figure out how, but we have some tools to do that. And just honestly, just becoming a resource for folks to be able to go to find them all in one place would probably be pretty useful. And then our idea of building these connections, whether that's through a meeting or something, building connections from organizations so that they can come together, create networks, find ways to work together, for the positive goal. I love the idea of hosting a meeting, even starting small and letting that build, just like the climate teaching did, would be, we don't have to do that, but that would be a great way to move forward.
Okay.
Chat. Could be a community education too. That's great.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Laura.
The last part of that was that if we're reaching out to entities about their professional learning opportunities for educators or the community, that could be a way to connect with some of those organizations that could support that third point in terms of them knowing who we are. So maybe part of it is just that, that is developing like a Amy, I'm looking at you, communications kind of pathway in terms of really supporting And I think that we, you know, there are a lot of us that have like listservs and newsletters and things. Maybe there is a spreadsheet that we could build out that kind of shows what that looks like. Jared, you may actually have something like that already, but anyway, those are just like off the top of my head, it starts swirling about like, okay, what are the next steps then? So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I'm writing that down. So I love the idea of like developing a communication pathway. I think that's a great way to look at it. You know, building a spreadsheet of, and I mean, I do this in my company too. Like I manage a list of the way we communicate, right? So just knowing that and when that happens can sometimes create really great opportunities. So I think that supports that goal of connecting these organizations. That could be a task under that could be super beneficial to folks if we just, you know, had an idea about, you know, I mean, we learned last year about the MSDE's emails that they send out to, you know, environmental educators. We had no idea, those kind of things. So, so that could be a really great project as well. Okay. I love it. Does anybody have any concerns or thoughts about these working areas? Do we want to, as a group, we have about 37 minutes left. I can't remember what else was on our agenda except for trying to expand membership.
Also the 2026 calendar.
Oh, and the 2020. Let's get that done. That has to be done. I don't want to run out of time before that gets done. Let's do that. And then maybe we just need to decide as a group whether we want to actually wordsmith these into the PowerPoint goals, or we move on to talk about expanding membership, which will actually end up supporting some of these goals.
True. So calendar first.
Yeah, let's crank that out. Let's get
Okay.
that on folks' agenda calendars for the year, because that's important. So is meeting every other month working for everybody? Thinking about these goals. We can always create sub working groups like we did with the climate teach-in if something advances to that level. But if is meeting every month working, I've got 2 thumbs up. If that's meeting every other month works for an hour and a half, we can keep on our schedule. When would our first meeting be? January?
I think it was
No,
usually
February?
February. Yeah,
February.
that's what it used to be. So we can go with that same format, or we could change it. It's up to us, I guess. But yeah, we start in February. And I guess the other question is, does the date and time still work? Thursday, what is it? The third Thursday?
Thursdays at 3 o'clock.
At 3 o'clock.
Works for me. My calendar's still pretty
too.
open right now, but that works for me. Mondays and Tuesdays are really bad for me.
And no one wants to meet on Fridays.
Except that's when we meet for the teach-in.
Well, right.
So, and you know, that'll take
That's
up.
in the morning.
Yeah,
We can deal with that.
Yeah, I don't think I need 2 eco meetings in a day.
No.
Right.
No. All right, well, let's keep this calendar. Jared, do you want to go ahead and set the dates? I'm going to write them down. So if they're the third Tuesdays.
Thursday.
Third Thursdays, sorry. 1, 2, 3. That's February 19th.
And then also March 19th, looks like.
No, that's every other month. So.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. April. You're looking at April.
April 16th.
Mm-hmm.
That one we should have whatever happened in session. June 18th.
Yes.
August 20th. Do we want to go ahead and build in that extra meeting like we did this year for recommendations in September?
Probably should.
I mean, the schedule worked out really well.
When was the due date again?
Yeah, Jared, I thought that was like the first week. Was it the first
It
week?
was
of
the first
September?
week of September.
I really liked I felt like we had plenty of time. I was comfortable with it. Like we were still urgently moving, but I didn't feel
Mhm.
totally panicked.
Right.
Yeah. Didn't we have a meeting in July then? It was like a July.
Yeah, I feel like it was July.
August. So let's just work in a July. That would be July 16th. That way we're to there. And then September. No, wait, August. No, October
Mhm.
15th.
Yes.
And then if we do the end of the year, which sometimes we don't, it would be December 17th.
Right.
Okay. I'll
That
get those on
work?
the calendar.
Oh,
I'm going to go ahead and guess that we're probably not going to keep the December 17th one, but
Probably not, but you never know.
I will have these all scheduled and we'll send out the invites accordingly.
I mean, the other option is to move that up to November again, because most folks want to know what's going to happen, what happens with the recommendations. And then there's planning for next year.
Hmm.
So maybe instead of December, we just go ahead and do the November, which would be, well, the third Thursday, that'd be the 19th. That'd be the week before Thanksgiving. Let's do that. We just won't do December. So it's an odd schedule, but I think this works better. Also, this really helps with the teach-in, honestly, because this is when the teach-in starts ramping up.
Yeah.
So to have a couple, like to have the month of December and the month of January off is kind of nice because there's a lot of that going on at the same time. All right. Well, that was super useful. Okay. All right. So do we want to talk membership, or do we want to like really zone in on these areas of focus? I feel like last year Jared Jabari and I ended up having to write it simply because we ran out, like we just didn't have a meeting and it was due and
Yeah.
done. I mean, we had chosen the focus areas, but we had to write the actual language. Do you want to pull them back up, Jared, so we can see what they look like? If
Yep.
you still have that open.
One sec.
Okay, so this is an example of kind of the way we did it. So it's like a 1 to 2, basically a very brief, not even a whole sentence, just like a phrase kind of goal. And then underneath, we're highlighting some actions. Is that what the other groups did too? Because last year was the first year we ever did this. So
Yeah. I mean, each group took kind of a little bit of their own approach to it, but if you look at like Usera WG, I mean, it's roughly the same. It's a couple of bullet points.
okay, gotcha. Okay. All right. So then let's start with the first one, which was Tristan's suggestion, and Laura supported that with the OLP possible connection, which was the idea of trying to figure out if we are graduating enough students to fill the green jobs we have in Maryland. So how do we want to kind of put that into a goal? Any thoughts, Tristan? Have you processed any more?
Well, I think
Or Laura?
so. As I was going through the data, the hardest part for me was figuring out which degrees counted,
Mhm.
because so much of it can be like coursework based. I could take an engineering class and it could lead me to coastal engineering, but not necessarily. So I would love to look at the different types of climate related degrees and figure out which ones count. I don't really know how to phrase it.
Okay. That could be a task, though, to identify climate-related degrees and coursework available through Maryland colleges and universities.
But something else we want to look at is what kind of preparation is there at the K through 12 level?
Mhm.
And I see Laura's question, and Donald, yeah, Donald spoke a lot about that earlier. Well, or part of the panelists did. So again, some of that work is already done. Of course, that was more so on a county-wide level, but anything that's done in the county can be pretty much replicated across the state. Yep. Donald, I don't know if you're still there. Do you have any input on any suggestions on how we could work out this plan with as far as workforce development? I mean, any ideas on how we can formulate something from that?
Yeah, we were just talking a little while ago about making sure that even the folks on my panel, making sure that they are connected with our career technical education office. And they may very well be, but I don't know that that is the case. And so establishing that connection between the CTE office, the local industry. So in this case, it was Employ Prince George's, and it was a local electrician union or shop, and making sure all of those folks know and can speak in the same places. And so that's one of like my takeaways from today, is to make sure that the gentleman that spoke today about the careers and photovoltaics, they train electricians, but then they have specialized courses on photovoltaics to make sure they're connected with not only our environmental agriculture and natural resources, but our electrical and our construction side of CTE, to make sure they're talking and in the same space. So that is one of my takeaways for other industries as well. To one of the questions from my panel was about how to ensure that folks stay current on the innovations in the field. And part of that is staying connected with the folks that are in the innovative spaces in those career fields. And so I think making sure that they're connected would be one. I think introducing and looking at where we can introduce the career connections within curriculum, and I know there are connections that are already there, but are there new tools, for example, where we can connect students with careers? Like one of the events that my office was recently involved with, along with CTE, was we held it's not a chapter, but in a local event called the Futures Fair, which was through Discovery Education. And this was a national event where educators could join electronically or virtually, but they held a few in-person events around the country, one of which happened to be in Prince George's. But the whole goal was to look at futures and careers. But one of the tools that they have, don't quote me on this, I think it's called Career Connect. But Discovery Education has like a new portal or element to their suite called Career Connect, where educators can get connected with professionals in various industries, and making sure that folks in our environmental sector know that these tools are available, because if you're not in a space, this is something that I believe is just available this school year. They won't know that that's something available to them, and that can be helpful in so many different areas, like the Green School Program, right? Certainly like CTE and those pathways there. And then within our science curricula, like anyone going after Green School certification, if it is an open program, could use that, or at least something, a platform similar to that, to connect with careers. But definitely making sure, back to the first point, that CTE is represented in their various pathways and connected.
Appreciate that, Donald.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we've got some great task bullets.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't like written I guess the overall point. And and Laura, what's OLP focusing on in terms of green jobs?
That's Tristan.
Oh.
I mean, I know, but I'm not going to speak because Tristan has it. She can do it in her sleep.
Sorry, what was the specific question?
What's the OLP focusing on when it there? Laura said they were working
The
on
recommendation
recommendations
from
for green jobs.
OLP on green career
Yeah,
guide.
so we are submitting one recommendation, which is around creating a CTE pathway, which is college and technical education pathway. I think it's around sustainability. I'll have to, sorry, I just
Okay.
realized it's really dark in here.
Um,
There we go.
here we are.
I'll have to look up that language exactly, but that would be through MSDE. I think we can offer support where we can, but it's not there yet. And then the second one is an action, and that's to update and refresh the Conservation Careers Guide, which is an OLP tool document that we created back in 2020, helps young people across Maryland looking for information on green careers. So like college, high school, early career, even career changers, what's out there, how do I get connected, who's doing training I might be involved with. And we don't have anything specifically on climate related jobs. So I'm going to be in charge of that when OLP gets the green light to get moving on those things, and I'll make sure to loop you all in. So I don't know if it's something specific we want to put on the work plan. I'll consider it like a friendly handshake that you all are willing to help me.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, Laura.
I think that's a great idea, especially because we would be adding in the climate related jobs, Tristan, to have this group involved in some way. The other thing that I was thinking about with the guide would be to maybe have, I'm gonna say Jabari and Donald. Jabari, you have a group of students. It would be really interesting to have them take a look at the guide and maybe give some feedback back, like, this is really helpful, or I didn't see anything in there that I could use, or it was really complicated, or it was great. This is so easy. I never knew it existed. And likewise, Donald, with some high school students, maybe from the environmental alliances, to give some feedback. Because Tristan, I don't know that we've had that specifically, but here on our committee are two people who have access to people who really, I think, could give us some feedback on that Green Careers Guide.
Yeah, and we can also leverage like Victoria and her students, or
Sure.
we have some really great opportunities there.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
That may also make for potentially a good project for the Youth Climate Institute student groups. They're in different counties and LEAs throughout the state. But I know as part of the Youth Climate Institute, like sort of pathway or curriculum, for lack of a better term, like in their progression, they have to engage in modules and conversations, but they also have to work on projects. And so that this may be a good connection there. The Howard County Conservancy is leading that work, but tapping into that group, which can then tap into the Youth Climate Institute groups throughout the state. And I know they go beyond the state of Maryland now as well. You have some groups in like Alabama and other areas. So maybe even outside of the state, but in terms of Maryland, they have a good reach into those student groups crossing county lines.
Yeah, that's us making these connections. So this kind of supports, I think these are opportunities are gonna kind of overlap, right? Because in a way, between identifying the learning opportunities and sharing them, I am learning more about green careers and then trying to create these connections. I think it all kind of works together. I think we can build the platform this year so that we're bringing the organizations in slowly and kind of creating a coalition. Does that make sense? And in the way of, like, we have talking points, what kind of professional development opportunities or educational opportunities is your organization working on, or does your organization need, or, and we can start moving in that direction. So, but we still don't have a goal written. And we're running out of time. And we have 3. They're all related though. So thoughts? I mean, we have some really great steps there. But there's nothing kind of unifying that specifically. Other than, let me wordsmith some things. All right, so I'm going to start with something simple. And how about something along the lines of, here, I'm going to bring up a Word doc and share my screen so we can wordsmith together. Share. Share. Okay. How about something along the lines of investigate and advance green job career path. Is that enough? Is that broad enough to cover that? Or is that too broad?
That feels pretty broad.
I know it's so broad.
Well, okay, let's
But we
narrow
can
it down. We know it's
underneath
not gonna be, I don't think it's best that we do all green jobs. We could focus specifically on climate.
Okay, on climate.
I think we were specifically talking about I'm gonna say formal education. How is it being addressed in K through 12? How is it being addressed in higher ed?
Right. I don't know what to call that. I want to say education preparation, but that's not what it is.
That's what, okay, so I don't know if it's really like career paths, but maybe like career education, career awareness. I feel like I just did this in another work group. I'll have to look at the language we use.
Would it be like green career paths and resources to be able to do,
I was going to say the word opportunities should be in there somewhere, but as I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure where.
Available educational programs, resources, and opportunities to advance awareness of climate-related green job career paths.
climate related job. I don't think we need green.
Okay.
Hmm.
Job and
Well,
career is the same.
yeah, take out job too. I think climate related career paths.
Or we could just say careers.
Yeah.
Because to me, then underneath that could be several things. So,
Right.
like Donald was talking about, who are the people doing innovations in fields? What
Mhm.
are the new tools, for connecting students with careers? Um, um, it's the and then there could be the green career guide, and with climate opportunities there could be the MSDE connections.
One thing that I think we should also think about with almost any topic, we have to consider the environmental justice element, I believe,
Mhm.
which also kind of coincides with advocacy. That's a big one too. When it comes to policy and advocacy, we need younger people to be the ones to be at the forefront of that as well. So somehow we need to kind of interweave that into this,
Right.
this goal.
I was thinking, Jabari, it's even like the youth voice or the youth engagement in the process,
Hmm. Yep.
Have we ever talked about having like a youth on this committee?
I think we did
We have,
recently.
and we've never, that should be part of our membership
Yeah.
discussion, honestly, but we need to expand our membership. It's going to be tough. I think it'd be easier to have a college age student than a
Right.
K through 12,
Right.
just
Absolutely.
because, who knows what their schedule is.
Hmm.
Well, I think it would be cool to have two so they don't feel like completely isolated.
Yeah, I agree.
And the other thing is, Donald, you might be able to say, like, yeah, there's like a YCI person that from Prince George's County Public Schools that might be great. So if we had a high school and a college, or even to have two college students, because I think they're close enough to their K-12 experience. I'm just saying, you can shoot me down, Donald.
No, it may be worth exploring for high school. And the panel today, that was part of at least one of my responses, was we tried to ground student voice, and even in the development of the climate change action plan, at least for PGCPS, students were a part of that process. And then the students that serve on the ad hoc committee are they, they're voting members of that particular committee. So if there's a process for it, it'll take some figuring out, and maybe connecting with like the YCI or YCI Green Club Environmental Justice advisors to tap into, or even like the Howard County Conservancy, because they meet with the advisors on, I don't know if it's every month or every few months, and will have a good feel. It would be a good leadership opportunity, even for a high school student. But they do tend to, I would say, like there are a few that serve on the ad hoc committee. So I do like the point that was brought up in terms of, you know, having a few, even if it's a potential few high school and a potential few college students, so they don't feel like they're the only voice in the room. And it's helpful to have someone, at least on the high school side, like that is working with them, like an educator that's working with the directly with those students.
Okay. right, any other edits to this? All right, I'm gonna move on to, I'm gonna move on to the next one, and I'm gonna kind of sort of combine them. So let's see. I started typing this in off screen. I'm saying that wrong. Let's see. I don't know what I'm saying. Any thoughts on this one?
I say just take that part out and have just to advance climate goals.
Okay. I mean, and then the sub bullets were here, were like we talked about promoting educational. Go ahead, Laura.
I'm just wondering, I know there's Chesapeake Bay Trust environmental education. It's kind of like environmental education capacity building grant that's open and closes at the end of the year, and that I'm already with my organization putting something in. But if people were willing, it's due in just under a month. I'm wondering if we could put something in for like $10,000 or less, or maybe there's $5,000 mini grants to actually hold an event. So like we could spend maybe this year planning, and then maybe in the fall, or maybe in 2027, we spend this year building and promoting that network of professionals, and then have the funding to actually bring them together for 2 hours or working lunch or something like that, where we could actually share ideas and resources to advance climate goals. And I think it would definitely be different than the MACE conference. It would definitely, and is the MACE conference, Tristan, always virtual now?
No, I feel like last year it wasn't.
Last year was in person, and actually we did it in 2 locations. We had a Maryland and a Virginia site.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I would be happy. I think it's something we could do as a group to kind of plan, but I would also be happy, like if there was a committee, I'd be happy to kind of work through and create a budget and maybe like a plan of action.
I think that would be great. The one concern I have there that I don't, or I mean, it's the challenge less than a concern, is that we have no way to accept a grant. We have nothing, no organization.
No, I mean, I can do that. I can write it in collaboration with the committee.
Okay, all right.
So,
Yeah,
and submit it. I'm doing another one, so I would definitely need help to put it together.
okay,
But I think we could do it. I think it doesn't have to be too complicated.
okay.
And we wouldn't ask for like the whole amount of money. I think we could ask for a smaller amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, I mean, there are some places that could probably host it that wouldn't cost anything, but I think it would be good maybe to either bring in a speaker or to be able to have some food for people.
Yeah,
if
like
they
some
allowed us to do
refreshments,
that.
even if it wasn't lunch, you definitely want
Yeah.
some refreshments and, yeah.
And to be able to have something that brings people together and then has some outcomes that can be shared with the MCC, with, you know, OLP, with school districts, you know, and higher ed, you know,
Okay.
things like that. And even to bring in, like, there are business, I mean, Rotary is at the top of mind, but there's also some business groups that are like completely lost in my head right now.
Like chambers of
Yeah,
commerce.
chambers of commerce and I don't know, like, yeah, industry leaders or something. I don't know. So
Okay. Any other bullets under that one? So we have to, I kind of combine the two.
I mean, the other, yeah. Jabari, I'm assuming that there were a lot of kids this afternoon at the Brave Boy event.
No, I wouldn't say there were a lot.
Yeah.
I think there were some that came from Prince George's County, and there might have been a couple of college students, but you know, it's a regular class day, so yeah,
Yeah.
didn't get a lot. I think we wanted more. Now there was some students who supported their projects, who had some of the research projects. They had the posters and all that. They were there here and there, you know, in between classes, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it was a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's 4:30. So, and I know we've lost quite a few folks. Are you
It's
good
dark
with
now.
at least this draft right here? And I can put it in chat for you. What?
One thing, Amy, really on that first one,
Mhm.
and I think I mentioned, I'm not sure exactly where to put it, but something about advocacy and climate justice.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I would say maybe it could be a fourth bullet or somehow integrated with the third one. See, particularly in relation to climate justice advocacy or something like that.
I almost wonder if climate justice advocacy should be a fourth bullet,
Yeah, that's what I'm
only
thinking.
because I think, and it could be youth engagement in climate justice advocacy, but
Mhm.
then it's in the process for the green career guide and how useful it is, and even to have that DEIJ lens in the career guide. And Kristen, you know, you can speak to what's been done so far, but I like the idea as well of not elevating, but having visible the climate justice piece, Jabari,
Mhm.
because there's so many like policy decisions and legislation and all of that needs
Right.
that leaning in on and advocating for climate justice as we move forward, as things are developed.
Mhm.
And to have student involvement in that, but also our own awareness and involvement.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, I have a 4:30, so I'm gonna put this in chat. Jared, I don't know whether you want to do this via like, I don't know, shared document. I don't know.
Yeah,
How
just
we
put it
get
in the
this out
chat,
to
and then I'll make
everybody.
sure that you and Jabari have access to a version of it that we can all edit collectively.
Okay, so let me
Okay.
stop presenting. I'm trying to find my chat. All of a sudden I don't have chat. I don't have chat. Oh, there it is. Hiding in the corner. Okay. All right, got it. There it is. So that was a really, really, really productive meeting.
Yes.
We did not go down the membership path as far as we had hoped. So I would like to make sure that's on our agenda for January.
Mhm.
'Cause that's-
February, I think.
or February, that's going to be a big deal. Yeah. I think that's going to be not an area that needs a goal per se, but is a focus area.
Hmm.
So yeah, Jared, if you can share them at Jabari and we will go ahead and put the climate. Yeah, I've got to go. They're questioning. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we probably need to end anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think the rest of you will probably see in some of these subcommittees and work groups. So it'll be before February, probably when we see many of you again. All right. Is there anything else?
Good holidays.
Yeah. Happy holidays. Is there anything else before we go though, really quick? All right. Jared, we good?
We're good.
All right.